Hello guys and welcome to this week's episode of the Budding Watch Enthusiast. So today it is a double review. I'm reviewing two watches, both from the same company. That company is Balticus watches. Today we're reviewing the Balticus Stardust and the Balticus Bronze Wave, both of which have been lent into the channel by John Keel of Watch Gauge. So John, thank you very much for loaning these into me to check out for review. John is the exclusive US retailer for Balticus, so if you do want to check out other Balticus watches or these watches, make sure you head over to Watch Gauge. So Balticus is a Polish watch company that hasn't been around for very long, and their objective is to make watches not in massive quantities, but to make something that'll be kind of like the subject of conversation, the subject of discussion whenever you wear them. In that regard, I can definitely say that not only these two watches, but all of the watches that they have on their website fit that bill for sure. So I've gotten to spend about 2 weeks now with these watches ready to render my review on these. Before we move into that, just a quick apology. Apparently this is the winter that I can't not be sick. You can probably hear in my voice a little bit. I'm getting over a really vicious cold that I've had for a while, but I had to finish the video today so I can get it posted for you guys in a timely fashion. So apologies in advance. You can definitely hear it during the review portion, so just something you got to deal with. But yeah, without further ado, let's go check out these two watches from Balticus. So let's start off with the Stardust from Balticus. So as you can see, as the seconds hand ticks away on this watch, this does have a quartz movement inside of it, a Ronda 1015 to be exact. They do make a version that has an automatic as well. That's going to come with it. Miyota 9015, of course, that version is going to be a little bit more expensive than the quartz movement version of the Stardust. So with this watch, it really is all about this dial. So the dial is actually composed of, it looks black, but it's actually a very dark blue Aventurin quartz crystal that has minerals inside of it that give it that sparkling effect that you see. And really, this dial is going to be your main appeal for picking up this watch, because that is what it's all about, is that Aventurin dial, which again, you're not going to see on a whole lot of watches out there, quite frankly. Of course, on the dial, you have the very subtle Balticus logo up here at the 12 o'clock position, which is all the text that's on the dial. The indices are also very subtle as well. You see that slight trapezoidal shape from all but the 12 o'clock one, which is considerably larger, and these are all loomed, of course. The Dauphine, or is it Dolphin, style hands also have some luminova in them as well. On top here, you do have a sapphire crystal that has anti-reflective coating on the inside of the crystal, which even, as you can see with the light reflecting off it, makes the watch pretty easy to read. And really, this dial is designed in such a way that it is the main event, the main feature of this watch. And you'll see it too when we look at the Bronze Wave, because it is very much in the same boat. I'm going to go ahead and turn the lights out so you guys can get a look at what this looks like loomed up. The loom on the dial is pretty solid, and the larger marker up here at 12 does make it very easy to read the time from an orientation sake. So let's move outward from there and look at this bezel, which is a very nice looking bezel here. Has a brushed finish on the top, which leads to a nice chamfered edge on the side that is polished, which leads back down to a brushed octagonal shape at the bottom. Of course, this is probably where the homage police are going to jump into the comments and talk about this watch, between the bracelet integration and the bezel as being a Royal Oak ripoff. Whatever. I don't really think taking two design elements of the Royal Oak and making your own watch quantifies that as a ripoff, but to each his own. The case is, of course, stainless steel with a fully brushed finish. The only exception to the brushing is this chamfered edge that you see in each of the corners of the watch that runs down the side and down the lugs as well, which gives it a nice little touch of flair. While we're here, let's talk about dimensions. The watch is 42 millimeters in width. Not too sure about the lug-to-lug distance. It wasn't listed on the websites for the watch, nor do I have calipers here to actually check that, so I don't have that information. The quartz version does have a thickness of 10 millimeters. Of course, the automatic version is considerably thicker as well. And as far as strap width, doesn't really matter because you have this integrated bracelet design that that kind of negates the ability to use other straps on the watch, which is something we'll talk about later on, I'm sure. The crown, of course, is signed with an embossed Balticus logo, as you can see there. And I've talked before in some of my videos that one of my deal breakers is a watch with a quartz movement with a display case back. Well, this one covers up the display portion by having this little star design on the back as well, which complements the theme of the watch pretty well. You get some other information about the watch on the outside there, and you do see that the watch does have a 100-meter water resistance. So let's talk about this integrated bracelet that comes with the watch. It is an oyster-style bracelet, nicely polished links down the center, along with brushed links on the flanks to fill that out. It does have pushable pins that you can get to adjust the size of the bracelet, and one of my favorite features that I don't think I've ever seen on a watch that I've ever possessed to this point, those, if you can see them, if the camera would focus nicely, are quick change spring bars on a bracelet, which makes it very easy to pop this off. And you might be saying, well, the bracelet has an integrated design. Why do I care? Well, Balticus also includes a blue leather strap with this watch as well. That is designed for the watch, so it will sit flush against the case when you put it on. And it also has the quick release spring bars as well, so it makes it very easy to change up your look with this one. And the butterfly clasp on the bracelet is very nicely signed, as you can see here, with both the small and scripted Balticus logos as well. And here's what the Balticus Stardust is going to look like on my 8-inch wrist. A great size. Having the bracelet integrated in makes it a very comfortable fit. Only a very mild taper to the bracelet, which I think matches the aesthetic that the watch is going for. Very comfortable fit, and the look of the watch doesn't really overwhelm the wrist, I don't think, even though at 42 millimeters it starts to edge on the larger side of things. So let's talk about what works and doesn't work with the Balticus Stardust. So believe it or not, I'm actually not that opposed to having the quartz version of this watch if I had the choice. And the reason why is because having the quartz movement lets the watch be a lot slimmer. And I think it really meshes well with the aesthetic that this watch is trying to pull off. Yeah, weirdly enough, the quartz might actually be the way to go with this one. Obviously, again, the version with the Miyota movement is going to be considerably thicker, so it's going to sit a lot taller on the wrist. I kind of like the more slimline design that the quartz version provides you. That being said, if you're going to be shelling out $500 for the quartz version of this watch, I do kind of wish that they had made a little bit more effort to make the seconds hand that much more accurate. So you can see as it's going around, it's slightly off of the markers along the outside as it ticks. That kind of bothers me for the price range of this watch. Like I said, if this was a $100 Timex, I wouldn't really care. There's some allowance for some tolerances. But again, this is $500. If I'm buying a quartz watch at that price range, I think that I'd like to see a little bit more accuracy. Or not even accuracy, but I'd like to see a little bit better alignment being paid attention to for something like that. The bracelet, like I said, is actually really high quality and really comfortable. So is the leather strap that it came with as well. They're great. I mean, they really are. Again, having the integrated design, the big plus of that is that it really does hug your wrist very nicely. Of course, the major downside to that, though, is that it is going to limit your options. As far as I know, this bracelet and the leather strap that I showed you are going to be the only two strap options that you have for this watch. So if you're someone that likes to wear NATOs, if you're someone that likes to change your straps on the regular, and can I say, having the leather strap that fits the case, excellent. Having the quick change bar on the bracelet, also excellent. I haven't seen that before. I know a couple other companies do it, but it's really convenient and just makes it easier when you want to mix up that look. And more importantly, when you want to put the bracelet back on, it is a million times easier than fitting a regular bracelet. And I will say there aren't too many watches in this price range that have this level of like minor details that are done really well. Like the finishing on this watch is very nice. Again, you get the great bracelet with the quick change. I mean, Pete's sake, this is the box that it comes in, a wooden box for a $500 watch. I don't think that I've ever seen that. Very nice presentation. Like I said, it makes you feel like you're getting something that is much more valuable than the money that you paid for it. All right, so let's take a look at the second watch that we're looking at today, and this is the Balticus Bronze Wave. So let us start again with the dial, because again, that's probably the reason that you're picking this watch up, if you do end up picking one up. You can't ignore the giant painted Kanagawa wave that sits on this matte black dial. Very impressive, and this is all painted with Superluminova paint, so you are going to get that whole wave lit up when you are looking at it in the dark, which looks very, very cool. I will throw a loom shot in later on so you guys can check that out. As far as the time-telling purposes of the dial goes, you have these loomed baton markers that are applied at the hour positions with a double baton at 12 o'clock, and you have painted minute indices running in between those. You get the Balticus logo here at 3 o'clock, which is just about the only position on the dial that you could have put the logo, considering what else is going on. You also get a cutout date window here at the 4 o'clock position as well. This is a dive watch, so of course you do get a rotating bezel. In this case, it is a compressor-style diver, so that is an inner rotating bezel that is controlled here by the second crown on the watch. Flat sapphire crystal, which does have anti-reflective coating, again, on the inner part of the crystal. And let me go ahead and throw in that loom shot here so you guys can see what this thing looks like all lit up, which is very, very cool. So if we move outside of the dial, of course, you can see that this is a fully bronze case that this comes with, which, again, first time that I've really handled a bronze watch, and I can understand a little bit more the appeal now that folks have that have an affinity for these watches. It does have a nice bronze finish all the way along the case. If we look here, the two crowns are both signed with the Balticus logo, kind of like a sandwich style crown, this little stack design. That does make it easy to grip and pull out for sure. If we flip it over, we do see a nice relief design on the case back, again, of the Kanagawa Wave. Steel case back, of course, you don't want a bronze case back laying against your wrist. And if we look here, again, around the outside, 200 meters water resistance on this Balticus Bronze Wave. While we're talking cases, let's talk about dimensions. This is a 44 millimeter width watch that you have here, with a 51 millimeter lug-to-lug length, 22 millimeter strap width, and again, height not listed on the website. If I had to guess, I'm thinking we're in the 13 to 14 millimeter range with height. Inside the watch is a Miyota 9015 movement, which I've talked about on the channel many times before. It is a movement that beats at 28,800 beats per minute, so you get a nice smooth sweep on the seconds hand. It is, of course, quick set date. If we pull the time setting crown out, you can see that date quick set. And if we pull the crown out all the way, the seconds hand does stop moving because the watch is hackable. So let's talk about this rubber strap that this watch comes with, because it is one of my favorite extra parts of the watch. Very nice stitched rubber strap with that orange stitching around the outside. Very breathable, very comfortable. This might be the best rubber strap that I've ever gotten to experience so far, which is not a lot of rubber straps, mind you. But it's one of my favorites for sure. It does have a signed bronze buckle as well with the Balticus logo. Also included inside the box is a black leather strap as well for this watch. I did not take it out because the buckle in there is kind of wrapped and sealed, so I didn't want to mess with that too much. But there are options for the strap as well. And so here's what the Balticus Bronze Wave is going to look like on my 8-inch wrist. Again, this is a big watch, so if you are smaller wristed, it might not work for you. It does have a pretty commanding presence on the wrist. It does sit pretty tall. But again, looks great. The rubber strap, I'm on the last hole. As much as I like the strap, I don't know if I could actually use it. But yeah, so that's what that looks like. And again, on my 8-inch wrist. So let's talk about this Bronze Wave and what I liked and did not like about it. So this watch also does come in a stainless steel case, but I'm going to tell you, bronze is definitely the way to go with this one. It adds so much to the overall look and feel of the watch that I just don't think the steel version can replicate that in my eyes. Like, I really feel like that this watch would be lesser, in my opinion, unless you're getting the bronze, if you're not getting the bronze version. That said, I kind of wish the crowns didn't feel like an afterthought on the watch, because they kind of do. It's difficult to wind. The winding action's kind of tight on there. It's very easy to set. I mean, the crowns can be pulled out easily. They are small, but since they're tall, they're a little bit easier to grip. And also, the crown used for the bezel, it doesn't lock in any way, shape, or form. Nor does the crown for the time setting. There's no screw down on that crown. And the bezel crown doesn't lock in. It's not going to get jostled easily, but I don't know. It feels like with a diver, like if you're going to have this inner rotating bezel, I think you'd want the crown to be able to stay secure, especially if you happen to be using the watch for its intended function, which, I mean, to be fair, I don't think a lot of people are. But still, a locking mechanism of some kind with this crown would be a nice thing to see, for sure. Now let's talk about this dial. So, look, it really is beautiful. It fulfills the Balticus goal of making a watch that you want to attract eyeballs to. For sure, you are going to catch a lot of attention with this watch, and it's going to be fun to talk about this watch. Now, that being said, though, the Wave does kind of impair the usability of the watch. I mean, especially if you're looking at this 30 to 50 minute area on the watch, it's almost impossible in areas to actually see the minute indices around the outside of the track because they just kind of get lost inside of that wave design that's on the dial. And again, it's something going in, but it seems kind of counterintuitive to have a watch that it makes it difficult to read precisely what time you're at certain areas of the watch. The other major annoyance that I have with this dial is the date window. It does not need to be there at all. And in my opinion, it actually detracts from the beauty of the dial a little bit. The date window is completely unnecessary, in my opinion, and actually kind of detracts from the overall look of the watch. I talked about the strap when I talked about the strap. The strap is great. I kind of wish Balticus would sell this rubber strap separately because I'm pretty sure that I would buy one if they did. So I'm going to bring the Stardust back in because it's funny because my opinion on both of these watches is really similar. And I think I guess you could say it's going to be my opinion of Balticus as a brand. These watches are undeniably a success. They definitely achieve what they set out to do in terms of having very attractive, very unique watches that will be conversation pieces for you. And again, I talked about the presentation aspects when I talked about the Stardust, and in many ways you do feel like you're getting a watch that is much more valuable than the money that you are investing into it. But then in other ways that you're reminded that, oh yeah, that's right, this is a watch that costs $700. Between the alignment of the seconds hand on the quartz here, between having the crowns that again, I feel like are just an afterthought on the watch. I almost wish that they had kind of invested more into those small features on the watch itself, rather than have like this overdone, presentation of, coming in these giant wooden blue boxes, and things like that. So, but again, Balticus is a very young company, and I don't want to insinuate that these watches aren't worth it. I do think they are, actually. I didn't mention the price of the Bronze Wave. This one does come in at $700. And I think you're getting a great watch for the money in both instances. But again, it's something that in Balticus's future watches that they come out with that I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more attention to detail being paid to the watch itself, and maybe a little bit less attention paid to the other stuff around the watch. So that is it for my review of the Balticus Bronze Wave and the Balticus Stardust. If you are interested to buy these and you are in the US, I know that WatchGaze is the exclusive retailer, so make sure you go check those out on there as well. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit the like button down below. If you're new to the channel, thank you for checking this video out. Please hit the subscribe button down there along with the bell icon so that you never miss an episode that I post. And of course, I am also on Instagram. If you go to @buddingwatchenthusiast, you can find me on there. Again, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will catch you all the next time.